Welcome. Anyway, today we are doing another quilting with scraps video. So this is the concept. I think I might add some butterflies and stuff too. We're just gonna kind of see how I'm feeling throughout the project, because not 100% sure what I want to do yet, but this is kind of the idea. So, and I promise it won't be as long of a video as it was last time, but yeah. So, hopefully this will use the rest of my scraps, but I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You should probably watch my South Park quilting video after this one. But anyway, yeah, so let's get to it. Okay, so right here, I'm just going through all my scrap pieces of jeans and just cutting them up into like squares and rectangles. And then I'm gonna pin them all together and sew them. And that'll be the backing for my quilt. So, this is super fun. Now I'm ironing. I'm just making sure all my pieces of denim are just nice and flat. And here I'm sewing them together. I'm not just like pinning all the pieces together and then sewing it that way. This time I'm doing 2 pieces at a time, which works much better, surprisingly, believe it or not. So if you're gonna do it that way. But it's much smarter in this video than I was in my South Park one. But yeah. Here's my rectangle of denim. That's what she looks like. And now I'm just using a ruler and just evening out the sides. You know, just like marking it. It's pretty self-explanatory stuff, you know. Yeah. Now I'm just getting out all my colored scrap pieces and just going through it, going through my white fabric, deciding what I want to use for the skull, and then just like trimming it up a bit, you know. For my South Park video, when I had everything pinned to the denim and I was ironing it with it pinned, this time I'm flattening out all my pieces ahead of time because we've gotten smarter, you know? Don't work harder, work smarter. So, yeah, there's a lot of ironing in this project. Now I'm just drawing out kind of the outline for the skull in the books. This means like pretty much nothing because I'm just going to end up drawing it on applique and then putting that on anyway. But, you know, I was trying to do something here, and now I'm just placing fabric and stuff. Here's me using my really special erasable marker to draw out the books and the skull on a piece of applique. I might just be doing the skull right now because I did the skull and the books separately. Because I'm really smart, guys. I know exactly what I'm doing. You know, just drawing out my stuff there. Anyway, here's what my skull applique piece looks like for reference, you know. Yeah, super cool. Anyway, so now I'm just strategically placing my little pieces of white fabric, and I'm filling up the entire skull, and I'm just like rounding out all of the pieces so that they can look like they naturally belong there, you know. So now you see that my skull is completely full of fabric. and I'm just pressing it with some parchment paper at my iron so that it sticks. Yeah, anyway, I'm just like going all over the skull, making sure all the little pieces of fabric stay, because otherwise everything's going to be falling off. See, you can see the eyes are already coming off and the nose, so then I'm just using my iron without the parchment. You're technically not supposed to do this, but I haven't had any issues, so it's okay. Just like, if it goes wrong though, it's not my fault. I did tell you that you're not supposed to do that, so. Right here, I'm just cutting out what I traced for the books. Yeah, I'm just figuring out how to do the books right now. That's all I'm doing. Here's what she looks like. That's what yours should be looking like too. And then, yeah. Yeah! Yes, Queen Slay. Anyway, now I'm just placing the fabric for what I'm using for the books. I'm doing 3 books and they're all different colors, you know. If you're doing this, you can obviously choose whatever colors you want, but I'm doing some like bluey fabric from my scrap collection, and then I'm doing some like marbly stuff too. Yeah, choose whatever you want. Anyway, so here's my skull on top of my book so far. And yeah, I just pressed it to my applique with the parchment and stuff. And yeah, just pressing it on there, you know. Not actually attaching it to the denim yet, but I'm just pressing the backing of the applique to it. Right here, I'm just taking some of my scrap black fabric and I'm just pinning it. You know, this is what it looks like with the black background. Because, yeah, I want all the denim covered. And then I just pinned everything and sewed it on there, and this is what it looks like. I haven't sewed on the skull or the books yet. And then I just trimmed, did a little snippy snip on some of the edges so that I can fold them over and sew on the back to kind of give it a little bit more of a finished edge, you know? Yeah, here's me just sewing that. Here I'm just kind of taking off all the little pieces of fabric I put on there, so then I can attach applique to that, which is just like a whole process because you have to trace all the little pieces of fabric onto the pieces of applique, and then you have to press it, and then you have to peel off the backing, so it's quite time consuming. Oh yeah, and I just like finished off the edge with this kind of galaxy fabric that I had lying around. I had to sew 2 chunks together to make it long enough, but here's what all my pieces look like together. So now that all that's left to do is for me to press all of that so that it stays in place when I sew it, and when sewed, of course. Now I'm just using my iron-on erasable marker just to write out the names of some Gothic books. I'm doing Dracula, Frankenstein, and Wuthering Heights. I painted the teeth with some fabric paint, which I made with some fabric softener and some acrylic paint. You just mix equal parts. But yeah, here's what it's looking like so far. I added some detailing to the butterflies and stuff too. I was gonna add stuff to the flowers, but I didn't. Now I'm just cutting out some more pieces of that galaxy fabric, and this is gonna be what I use to hang my quilt. Anyway, I just pinned the sides, and then I sewed them. Here's me sewing them. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory stuff, you know, just sewing the little pieces. Anyway, here's what it looks like so far without the hanging parts that I sewed. Looks pretty good. There you have it. Now you know how to make a quilt with some scraps. If you've made it this far in the video, make sure to like and subscribe and share the video and stuff, because I'm like really cool and you should definitely subscribe. Anyway, the Monster High video deep dive, I'm still doing research for, but I'm almost done. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, just like come back next time or something.